What's up and welcome to Kind of Funny Games Daily for Monday, November 27th, 2023. Of course, I am Tim Geddes, and I'm joined by, returning from Thanksgiving break, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
I'm a changed man.
Yeah, how changed are you? What changed you?
It's all the food.
So much food.
I had two Friendsgivings, which means I had two Friendsgivings worth of leftovers. And when I tell you, I've been eating leftovers for every single meal, every single day. And there was, on the first Friendsgiving, there was so much jollof rice left over. Just because, like, I think we over-prepared. I think we had way more food than we had people.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of the rice left over. I took it all home, which was the first mistake. I should have divvied it up. I should have sent it home with people, but I took it all home. My second mistake was the fact that I had a Friendsgiving the day after. I didn't take the rice to that Friendsgiving. Why
would you not do that?
I don't know.
I don't need to know.
I think for me, it was the fact that, it was already, like, this rice has already been used. You know?
It's used rice.
It's used rice. Like, I'm not going to
Somebody's going to know my secrets.
Yeah, I'm not going to bring this tainted rice to a second Friendsgiving. You know, like, I'm not going to be a rice slut over here.
Yeah.
And so I didn't bring the rice there, which means that I've been eating rice for every fucking meal.
But at least it's good.
And it's great.
It was really good.
It's great, but like I think my body is starting to reject it. My body's like, no, like you can't keep doing this.
No more of this.
I had rice for breakfast this morning.
Good for you.
Before I came in,
Good for you. How much more do you got though?
I finished it.
Oh, okay.
This morning, yeah. I finished it.
You did it, everybody.
I ate so much goddamn rice over this weekend. How's your weekend?
My weekend was crazy, man.
Yeah?
So many ups, so many downs, so many things in between. It was Thanksgiving, so of course that comes with the dinners and the meals and all of that. But what I want to talk about is I put my body on the line yet again, God. Blessing. This has been a trend.
Is this another dog thing?
It is another dog thing, okay? In 2023, your boy Tim Geddes has been trying his damn best just to stay healthy and safe. And at every twist and turn, people are coming at me trying to take me down physically. Usually they're four-legged friends that are lost in the streets, okay? And you don't want to be lost in the streets of San Francisco, all right?
No.
We all saw Babe Pig in the City. That was New York.
I was going to say, first of all, I didn't see it.
We all saw All Dogs Go to Heaven 2. That was San Francisco.
Oh, was it really?
That was San Francisco.
It was.
But here's the deal, all right? For those that don't know, a couple months ago, me and G went to get brunch. We leave, and there was a big-ass doodle just running through the streets, scared as hell, gonna get hit by a car. So I spent an hour chasing this thing down, and it was just an hour of me running, bless. I can't do that. And the ramifications were felt for the last year.
Yeah.
Like, I still feel that in my legs. Last couple of weeks, we told the story on the podcast. I had to break into someone's house. There was just like a lot's been going on, all right, in my life. Yeah, things I had to go to the ER recently. Like, there's been a lot of just dumb shit happening in my life. So imagine my surprise when I walk out of my house this weekend, about to get in my car. I'm about to go play some Pokemon Go. There was a community day happening. I was really excited about all this. But then I noticed there's just a small little dog behind the wheel of my car.
Behind the wheel of your car?
Behind the wheel.
Oh, like, okay.
Just chilling, sitting there, scared as fuck.
In my head, I imagine the front seat, like they're getting ready to drive your car off.
No, not behind the steering wheel.
I was like, behind the wheel of your car. Interesting.
Behind the actual wheel, behind the tire of the car. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And so I'm like, I got to get this thing. He sees me. I see it. We make eye contact. It dashes. And it dashes to the busy street. And I'm like, oh, here we go. So I'm like, Tim,
this is like you know how people will make like the top 10 suit-ups in Marvel in the MCU, right? And it's like, you know, Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness when he whips his cape and this is like your version of your suit-up.
It is. It's just
like, here we go.
Sigh. All right. And so I start running after this thing, and then you play that delicate dance with these small dogs because they're like, they get scared. They're like, am I running from you? Are you friend? Are you foe? I'm not sure. And I'm like, all I know is I am panting and I am dying right now. And I'm now like juking this damn little dog wearing this stupid little Christmas sweater that says woof on the back. And I'm trying to get it. It's old as hell. Thank God this wasn't one of the crazy fast ones, but he's still a little guy, still way faster than I am. And now I hit a point. I'm chasing this thing up and down the block, and I am like, I am at the end of what I have. I have nothing left. We just ate so much Thanksgiving food. Like, things were so bad for me. I look over, and my garage door is open because Cool Greg runs on the treadmill with the door open because it gets hot.
Yeah.
So I look over and my brother's just sweat pouring off of him, shirtless, just fucking running, blasting like Lil Wayne music.
Yeah.
So loud. And I have to like not scare the dog. I'm like, Cool Greg! Cool And I'm like doing the fucking Chris Pratt raptor thing with the dog to try to get him to stay. I'm trying to get Cool Greg's attention without like being too loud. Eventually my brother like stops and looks back. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, turn off the music. Come here. I need your help. I need your help. It was a fucking scene.
I love the fact that Cool Greg is your sidekick
Dude,
in this scenario.
My brother runs out, like jumps off the treadmill. He comes out, sweat pouring off of him. And it's like, it just turns into a like, all right, tag team, we got this. We end up chasing this dog. We end up getting him, like tag teaming him. We end up getting him. Now we're like, what do we do with this dog? So we brought it back into our garage. Barrett, if you could bring up the picture. It's Cool Greg with what he calls our little Thanksgiving miracle.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So here's the dude that
this
we got.
This is precious.
And then it was like, what are we going to do? So I literally just went outside and started walking the streets, seeing if there was anybody that looked suspicious, like they were looking for something. There wasn't. There was like just a bunch of people who had their doors open that don't normally have their doors open.
Yeah.
So I like walked by. I was like, hey, excuse me. Did you just lose a dog? And like they're looking at me like I'm about to rob them. You know what I mean? They're like, what's this guy up to? And then eventually I see some dude like looking under cars. I'm like, it's definitely that guy. And I'm like, hey, are you missing a dog? And he's like, yeah. And like I'm like, all right, cool. I open the garage door. Motherfucker doesn't even say thank you. Motherfucker takes the dog and walks away. Now I want to be clear.
Yeah.
I'm happy it wasn't a conversation. I didn't want it to turn into like I didn't want too big of a thank you.
Yeah.
But I expected a little like
oh, thanks, man.
Oh, thank God.
I appreciate it.
They were just kind of like, oh, I just took it. And I'm like, your fucking dog was about to die, homie.
I thought you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I brought him over, and he was like, that's not my dog. I could have sworn that's where that was gonna go.
I wouldn't have been able to deal with that.
Yeah, and I wasn't ready for that twist, and so I'm glad at the very least that you were able to reunite the dog with its owner.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I feel like some level of, oh man, thank you so much. Like I appreciate it. This could have gone the wrong way.
Just something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's honestly, if I'm being real, it wasn't even so much about me. It wasn't so much I needed the thanks. It's more like if my dogs ran away and someone had them, I would just be so happy that they're okay and to see like there'd be some level
especially
of like
because
emotion.
this man is looking under cars, which means that he knows his dog has this trend to like hide under cars. Exactly. And so if that's the case, yeah, like there's a good chance that your dog could have been fucked.
Yeah, man. Good
for you for being the dog superhero.
Great, I'm the dog whisperer, which is the last thing I want to be. I'm just not equipped for this physically, guys.
Hey, man, it's not about what you want. It's about what the city needs.
Right. You really are.
The city needs you.
Dude, so real quick, before we get into the news and stuff, I want to talk about something that is tangentially video game related, but something that's very near and dear to both of our hearts. Scott Pilgrim takes off. The Netflix show that, if you guys don't know, is from the creators of Scott Pilgrim, both the graphic novel and the movie.
Brian Lee O'Malley.
Brian Lee O'Malley. It features the entire voice. The voice cast is the entire cast of the movie, the Edgar Wright movie. The music is done by Anamanaguchi, who did the music for the Scott Pilgrim video game. The art style, it's a full-on like anime, and the art style is inspired by the graphic novel. Absolutely gorgeous. And it's all on Netflix right now. It is a like follow-up series, I would say, to the original story, taking a lot of elements of the original and expanding on it. But spoiler-free, both Bless and I have watched this and completed it. I just want to talk about it for a second because I am completely blown away with this thing, man. Like, it is honestly the type of show that I watch. I'm like, it is a miracle that this exists. Like, that's something that is this true to the spirit of a property that we've fell in love with over the years, and like that I feel like is so formative to who we are and like just as a culture, where it's like so weirdly like it's video game culture, but it's also not. It's also like indie music culture and like the Toronto, Canada scene, and like things that some of these things mean more to me than others, but the way that they all kind of blend to be this like very specific identity, and to see that identity in anime form with all the production value in 2024 is so impressive. And as the show went on, like episode 1, I was like, this is neat. Episodes 2 through something, I was like, oh, I like this a lot. Yeah. By the end of it, I'm like, I loved that.
Yeah. I think it's such a perfect addition to what we already have is Scott Pilgrim, because I'm somebody who I never got around to the graphic novels, right? Like I would check them out at school and then like be like, oh wait, no, I don't read, and I'd put them back. But I really loved the Scott Pilgrim movie when that came out with Michael Cera in the cast, and that made me fall in love with that world. That made me fall in love with those characters, and the way that they expand on top of it in Scott Pilgrim takes off in a way that is both like, you know, being true to the source material, but then also expanding on it and being very self-reflective on its own themes and how it follows up on those themes and how it like doubles down on the traits of certain characters in ways that does them justice. And then also at the same time, yeah, has a really cool style. Obviously, like the illustration of it is very much based on the comics, but the animation and the action is so off the chain. And what they do with certain action scenes is so off the chain. And again, it reminds me of the things I love about the movie, because I love the story and all that stuff, right? But it was also the Edgar Wright like direction and the transitions and like the real cool visual flair and stuff. They keep so much of the same energy and translate it so well to animation. And like you said, like it has such a like particular, hey, we're going for gamers / indie music / like these very specific communities that you can picture the vibe in your head. They do such a good job of like, again, doubling down on that. And like for me, as somebody who's I'm into gaming, I'm not necessarily into like a lot of the other things. I feel like I'm still a part of the the community here. I feel like I'm still part of the types of people that they're talking about. And yeah, I don't know, I think it just does such a great job of understanding its own material and doubling down on it and leveling it up in a way that I'm like, I was blown away by the time I finished it.
Foxy Steve says, the older I get, the more I realize just how much of a scumbag Scott Pilgrim is. Watch the show.
Yeah.
This show is the modern telling of this story with an understanding of everything that's come before. And in my opinion, they absolutely nailed it. I am supremely impressed with this. I would recommend it to anybody that is interested in video games and things like that at all. But if you're a Scott Pilgrim fan, watch this. And if you're watching episode 1 and you're like, I've seen this before, keep watching.
Yeah.
I promise you it is worth watching. They make the most of the writing, the story, the characters, the vibes, action scenes, all of it, man. They go for it. They didn't leave anything behind.
Yeah, I think I've probably mentioned this places before where, Scott Pilgrim's one of my favorite movies. I always say that with like a little bit of hesitation just because like I understand what that comes with. Like I feel like when you say you're a Scott Pilgrim fan, it almost has similar energy as if you're saying a Rick and Morty fan. And I don't think there's anything super wrong with either, right? Like there are parts of both those communities that you look and you roll your eyes, right? When I think of the Szechuan sauce situation at the McDonald's or whatever, it's like, come on, man, really? But I've always had that feeling with Scott Pilgrim where I'm like, it's my favorite movie, but also I understand that Scott's a shitty character. I understand like the things that it doesn't do right, all this stuff. The Scott Pilgrim Takes Off also has such an understanding of who Scott Pilgrim is as a character. And also like, I think Brian Lee O'Malley and the people who worked on the original stuff, they understood that. They understand like how Scott fits into all this. And it Takes Off doubles down on who Scott really is as a character and making sure that like, if you're an audience member that gets this, like we're going to double down on this thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, like after Takes Off, I feel way less hesitation on saying like how much I love Scott Pilgrim.
Absolutely. That is a great way to put it. So yeah, definitely check this out. But enough about that. Let's talk about some actual video game news, everybody. Today's stories include Game Awards headlines, ReedPop selling off websites, and more. This is Kind of Funny Games Daily, where each and every weekday we come at you with all of the video game news that you need to know. If you're watching live, you can correct us when we get stuff wrong by going to kindoffunny.com/you're-wrong. If you don't want to watch live on Twitch or YouTube, that's totally cool. Later, you can watch whenever you want on YouTube or Rooster Teeth. If you want to listen, just search your favorite podcast service for Kind of Funny Games Daily, and we will be right there for you. Remember, you can use Epic creator code KINDOFUNNY on all Epic Store and Epic in-game purchases like Rocket League and Fortnite to help support the channel. To be part of the show, you can head to kindoffunny.com/KFGD to write in with your questions, squad ups, and more. And remember, patreon.com/kindoffunny will get you the show ad-free plus a bevy of bonus content. A little housekeeping for you. Have you ever wondered what Greg Miller was like as a small child? We now have a definitive answer, and it will not surprise you. He was just as much of a crazy monster as he is now.
Insane,
the first episode of Greg's childhood home videos is live right now for everybody on youtube.com/kindoffunny. If you enjoy it, all episodes are live right now over on patreon.com/kindoffunny. A cool thing about Patreon right now, we did a town hall update last week. I'm just kind of giving an update on all of the Patreon thermometer goals that we set out last year. And when everybody can expect all of them. And the majority of the things, like the vast majority, are all live now for everybody to see, but even more things are out right now on patreon.com/kindoffunny. So for people to get all the episodes of this show and a couple other shows, and over the next couple weeks, they'll be rolling out to everybody on YouTube. But definitely worth checking out because this shit is wild.
Hell yeah.
And then also a little fun stuff. We brought back every piece of merch that we've sold this year for a limited time, available till 5 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday. You can grab them before we retire them for good.
What, Cyber Monday deal? Black Friday,
a little cute one.
I was gonna say Black
mean?
Monday. I was like, no, that's not a thing.
I don't know about that, but yeah, no. All the different lines that we've had this year, you can go check them out on kindafunny.com/.
Does that include the shoe for president? Is shoe for president? It is on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You too can support shoe
for presidency.
Over on Patreon, we remember Blank's up all about our Thanksgiving gaming memories that you did.
It was one of my favorite episodes. Remember Blank? Yeah. I don't let the headline dissuade you from watching this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then thank you to our Patreon producers, Jackson Hampton and Delaney Twining. Today we're brought to you by Shady Rays, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. It's time for some news. We have 7 stories today.
A baker's dozen.
A best friend DM'd me last week and was like, hey, I work somewhere with a guy named Chris Roper. Is that the Roper from the Roper Report? And I was like, you're going to have to give me more information. And he did a little more information. And I was like, yeah, it is.
That's so
funny. It is that bad.
Imagine like listening to your favorite podcast and they have a segment and like you were like you're like, huh, that's the same last name as my coworker. They have the Courtney Corner. Yeah. And it's like the Courtney Corner, oh man, it's named after somebody named Barrett. And
it is.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it turns out to be your coworker.
Yeah.
Barrett Courtney.
I will say my dad has gone through that where people he has worked with have been like, wait, I know this guy named Barrett Courtney on a thing. And he talks about like a dad from Ohio. Is that you?
That's so funny.
So funny.
Yeah.
God bless the world. Story number 1, Game Awards is moving away from world premiere. Sandy Robinson of VGC. I don't know if we're ready for this news story. This is
Let me tell you, the first half of this Roper Report was very fun. Yeah. Because it all comes from a Geoff Keighley stream, like a Q&A that he did yesterday. A lot of interesting tidbits.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's bit those tids, everybody. The Game Awards host and producer Geoff Keighley has revealed that this year's show is moving away from its familiar world premiere branding. Speaking during a Twitch Q&A on Sunday, Keighley explained that for this year's show, the organizers wanted all of its game reveals, whether they're game announcements or first looks, to be able to stand side by side at the event. Asked by a viewer about the number of world premieres the public should expect from the Game Awards, Keighley replied, I don't know if there will be the same amount. I haven't counted, honestly. I think around the same, but I don't know. Also, what is a world premiere?
What is a world premiere, Tim?
Excellent questions. Actually, you'll see this year, we often put up those cards, world premiere, world premiere. We're kind of moving away from that just because everything's kind of, is it a first look? Is it an announcement, etc.? So we just treat it all as great game content. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
I can kind of see where he's coming from, right?
Yeah.
Like, one, I think in a show that has so many world premieres or has had so many world premieres in the past, I think seeing world premiere after like every other thing, I can see how that could get repetitive. And then also in a show where you want to treat everything as a worthwhile thing to check out, I could see how maybe the idea of having one thing be a world premiere and then another thing just be, just a regular trailer. I can see how maybe you want to balance that out a bit.
I get it. And, I do think that it lessens it to an extent when it is like everything's equal because we all know it's not. So it's like, I feel like a problem that I've had with the Game Awards in the past is that feeling of, is this an advertisement? They're all advertisements, but is this an advertisement? Is this a straight up commercial? Is this an update on something? Like, and we always have that moment where we're like taking notes and then we're like, oh, this is just a Geico commercial. You know what I mean? Like things like that. So I feel like getting rid of the world premiere stuff makes that even a little bit more difficult. But at the same time, I think the last couple of years, they've gotten way better about delineating what is a commercial versus what is an advertisement, as dumb as that sounds. I feel that this isn't really going to get in the way of that. If anything, I just think this is Geoff kind of looking at the criticism, all of it lobbied at the Game Awards and trying his best to fix anything he can. And one thing is the amount of people being like, are there going to be more world premieres or less than last year? It's like when you're getting that level of questioning and people are going to hold you to it, it's like, all right, maybe we should just be a little bit more vague because at this point, Geoff's earned the platform and space. Like people are going to show up. People are going to make announcements and updates at the Game Awards. Like, and they're going to be substantial. You know what I mean? We expect that, and we know that people are going to show up. So I don't think that he necessarily needs to play his cards as hard as he used to anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not surprised by this.
I also wonder what has constituted a world premiere in past Game Awards. Because like, it's not just been new game announcements, right? Like usually it's maybe a new trailer for a big game, but a big game that we've already heard of. Like at a certain point, I wonder if it stops working on the audience in terms of like trying to communicate what exactly is a world premiere. Because I do like the idea of it. I think there is a pomp and circumstance to world premiere, like you know, appearing on the screen and then getting a trailer out. Yeah, it's such a hype thing. I wonder if maybe the move should have been to, hey, we're only going to use world premiere for brand new game announcements, brand new exciting game announcements, or maybe it could even be a tier of, hey, like what we deem the cream of the crop, like the most exciting things like Hades 2, things like Death Stranding 2, right? Things like Armored Core 6, those will get the world premiere, whereas everything else, if this isn't the first place where we're seeing this game, then it's not a world premiere. It's just an additional trailer. Yeah. But also, I think there's a balance there because I don't know how different that makes things from what they were before.
I mean, I feel like before they'd still use world premiere just for if it was the first time we're seeing a piece of content, right?
Yeah.
Like a mode or something, like not just a game announcement. And that's where I think people can get a little bit like upset about it all, and it's like at some point it's like, hey, it's making people upset. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The pros are outweighing, or the cons are outweighing the pros on this. But again, I don't think this is going to affect the level of announcements hype-wise or the quantity of those announcements in any way, shape, or form. I think this is probably going to be for the better of the pacing of the show and everything at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like change, it scares me. But I think it'll be fine. But yeah, we're just a few short weeks away from this. Is it next week?
It is next week.
Next week.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like we're a week and a half away.
Wow.
How excited are you for the Game Awards?
I mean, I think properly excited, right? Like it's, I think, going to be a very, very exciting year for announcements. I think the awards themselves are like, I feel more invested and interested this year than in prior years across the board of the categories to see how spread it's going to be, how not spread it's going to be. Like, I just feel like there's more interest because of the level of quality of games this year across, again, all the categories, specifically as you get into the bigger ones. Really excited to hear the Game Awards Orchestra Medley. I don't know. I feel like we are now enough years into a modern Game Awards that is post-pandemic that the expectations personally for me are higher. But I think that they're more easier met.
Yeah. For whatever reason, maybe this changes as the week goes. For some reason, I'm not like as hyped. Like I'm hyped for the awards aspect of it. I'm curious to see who wins what. But I feel like usually there is an air of, oh, what's gonna be there? Like what's gonna be announced? Like there's some I feel like there's usually some level of speculation of, oh, what PlayStation thing are we gonna see there? Because there's already we already have an idea of, oh yeah, Naughty Dog's ready to announce their next thing, or like, you know, Sucker Punch is ready to announce their next thing, or like Nintendo's ready to announce their right now. I don't feel like Nintendo or PlayStation. I feel like we don't have anything big on the horizon. I'll throw Xbox in there too, right? And like that might change as the week goes. That might change once we get there. You know, I'm sure we'll get another Hellblade trailer. I'm sure maybe Xbox has a new thing to show off. Maybe we get Starfield DLC or something exciting like that. But it doesn't feel like that stuff's about to happen. And I wonder also if maybe in my mind it's getting overshadowed by the fact that we might also be a week away from a GTA announcement.
Yeah.
And like, I'm more excited for that.
We are.
Yeah.
Like,
that's insane.
Here's the thing. Like GTA
that I'm excited for.
Is happening. It's not speculation. It's not like, oh man, it might line up. They're hinting. They said it's happening.
Yeah. And anywhere within what, the next 2 weeks, it could just drop. And that's fucking exciting.
It really is.
And I think that's taking up more of my mind space than even Game Awards announcements. Like I'm excited for the Game Awards, but I feel like it's not comparative to past years leading up to the Game Awards.
Yeah, I mean, I guess where I'm at, it's just like it's hard to be any more or less excited for it these days because like we just, again, they've built expectations and
we know what it is.
We know what it is, and it's an exciting time. Like there'll be some good things. Some things will go too long. Some things we wish there was more of. Like it's going to, at the very least, be good. I'm not expecting the biggest banger year of all time in terms of announcements, but it could be. We don't know. Like,
I guess that might also be my thing. Is I feel like Geoff has done a good job in previous years of hyping people up / like managing expectations and being like, oh, we got a good year this year, guys. Like, you know, we got a lot for you guys to look forward to. And this year, I feel like he's not been doing that. I feel like this year he's been more so like, yeah, like, you know, we're excited about the awards. We're excited about the nominees. We're excited about, like, you know, the Q&A that he did yesterday. You know, it seems like he's been doing a good job of just talking about the progression of the Game Awards and what the Game Awards has turned into over the years. But he's not necessarily come out and been like, y'all get hyped. It's happening. Like, we got the shit this year. Like, he's not done that.
I don't think he needs to.
Yeah.
You know?
I am excited for it, not because I think anything, like, huge is going to be there, but just because I was like putting games on my like wanted list for 2024 essentially, and I was like, damn, we barely know about anything next year.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm excited for. Just
That's
like
fair.
learn a little bit more about what next year's going to look like in general.
Yeah, and like that's the thing is I feel like because of where the cards on the table are when it comes to Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, like Nintendo, we know their Switch lineup for 2024.
Yeah.
It's like it's there. So we're just waiting for that Switch too. You know what I mean? We're waiting for the big next jump, and I highly doubt it's going to happen here. Like that's not impossible, right? They did show off the Xbox Series X for the first time, but you know, I don't think Nintendo's going to do that. PlayStation, you know, they have all of their games as a service titles, but in terms of their core PlayStation Studios, a lot of question marks on what they're working on. I don't think it's time to announce that stuff, specifically with Last of Us Part 2 remastered coming out in January. Like, I'd be surprised if we get any major PlayStation news.
The one thing, this is based off conversations we've had on this show in the last few weeks, God of War DLC. That's been rumored.
I mean,
and that could be a hype announcement for the Game Awards.
I mean, that would be absolutely huge. And yeah, that's a good place for that as well. So yeah, that I could see happening potentially as the high end of hype. And then you get to Xbox, and I feel like they've kind of announced everything. Like we know all the projects, or at least the majority of the projects that their teams are working on. So I actually think that they're in a good place potentially to give some updates that are like meaningful. Like what if we got some actual dates in 2024? Or like what if we even got like maybe not hard dates, but like some what's like spring and summer look like for all the titles that they showed off at their showcase last year, right? Like that could be exciting.
Yeah. And I'd be down for that. You know, I think, because of where we know we're at with those three major console manufacturers, like Xbox, I feel like they usually tend to wait for like their own shows to announce new games. At least in the last couple of years, right? Like they save the big new announcements for an Xbox showcase. Whereas like Game Awards we get an additional Hellblade trailer, we get a trailer for something that already knows announced. I could be down for an Outer Worlds 2 trailer.
Something like that.
I think something like that could be exciting, but I don't expect anything big and new for some reason.
I don't think that they have anything big and new to announce.
Talk about,
but because they've announced everything, right? Like I think they're in a different position than Nintendo and PlayStation there. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like we kind of know what their teams are working on. I guess there's a couple like what's the Gears team on? I don't think we officially know.
I mean, there's that. There's there's the Indiana Jones game that we've not gotten anything on yet, right? Like,
but we know that Machine Games is working on it.
Yeah, we know Machine Games is working on it. Same with like IO Interactive is working on a fantasy RPG for Xbox. There's like the Kojima game that's being worked on too for Xbox. So there's things that we know they're doing that we've not gotten like reveals for yet.
Yeah, I guess that's
true.
And
even those I don't expect at Game Awards necessarily.
Yeah, Indiana Jones, I wouldn't like that. To me sounds like I don't think I would bet a house on it, but I think it's likely. Like I think that like there's a 60% chance it could be there. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be excited about it. And then Perfect Dark, was that announced at Game Awards?
That's a really good question.
I think it was, but even then, like that was a different time. Like the Xbox is very like they've had their showcases now, and like they're I think trying to define themselves differently. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what this looks like this year. But I expect good things. I'm not expecting like reveals they're gonna like blow my ass out, but like
I mean that's what GTA's here for.
Yeah, exactly. Story number 2, a little more Game Awards tidbits here. The Game Awards security will be tightened to prevent another stage invasion.
Stage invasion is great.
Geoff Keighley says this comes from Chris Scullion at VGC. The Game Awards host and producer Geoff Keighley says security will be tightened at this year's show to prevent another stage invasion. Both the Game Awards 2022 and this year's Gamescom opening night live show were disrupted by unauthorized people coming onto the stage and speaking into the microphone. The incidents have raised concerns for the safety of Keighley and the other guests who take to the stage to give and receive awards and discuss upcoming games. In a recent Q&A stream on Twitch, Keighley was asked if he would be taking more security measures for this year's Game Awards to prevent a third stage invasion incident. Keighley said he was, but didn't want to go into specifics so that would-be invaders wouldn't know the security plans in advance. Yeah, we are. We don't want to talk about that stuff too publicly just because it's security. We definitely have plans, and we're trying to do all we can to keep me safe, but also everyone watching the show, the audience, people participating in the show, and everything. It's certainly something we're thinking about. We appreciate the concern. Motherfuckers out there, be cool, man.
Be cool.
Don't do this shit.
How crazy would it be if it happened again?
I mean, it just sucks, man. It's like self-fulfilling prophecy almost of just like people feeling emboldened to do it because they get their moment and they get the headlines and shit. Like, It is just so fucking unfortunate. Let people have fun. Let people have nice things. When you do this shit, it limits the ability for people to have fun events and do cool stuff and allow the public to be a part of it. Or else everything becomes super rigid and structured and it becomes gatekeepy as fuck. And that nobody wants that. So don't create that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you also make people feel unsafe, right? Like, it's one thing to come through and, like, cause some ruckus at Geoff Keighley's event, like, cool, whatever. I think the fact that you have an audience there, you have developers that are there just to talk about their games, right? And, like, as Miyazaki's giving his speech, a random kid's up there doing his thing, trolling, and it's like, you don't know what's going through his head. You don't know what's going through the head of the people in the audience, right? Like, for me in the audience, one, it took me a second to even figure out what was going on, right? Yeah. But even as that happened, once that happens, you go, oh shit, like, what is this, right? And then you get settled down, but it's always a weird, awkward thing that can make people feel uneasy, especially when it comes to then figuring out how to throw these events in the future years and figuring out, okay, like, how do we beef up security? Do we make it a public event? Those are the kind of conversations that end up being had when things like that happen, and that's not fair to the people that want to show up and just have fun and, like, celebrate video games, right? And so, be cool out there. I do wonder what this looks like in terms of security. If it is just like checking people's tickets more, or like I don't know if you can have like a security detail that's like blocking the stage, right? Because the whole thing is you want people to be able to come up and come down to accept their awards and all that. And the kid that went up next year went up last year, just went up with Miyazaki. And so I wonder how you figure that out.
That's the problem, right? It's like, you need to beef up security, you need to take this seriously, but there is just a limit and a level of like, well, fucks are going to be fucks. And what are you going to do? And it's like, so it's, man, it's just so shitty. But it sounds like they're trying their best to take this seriously because they have to. They don't have an option. You have to do this. When something like that happens more than once now, it's like, motherfuckers, man. Be cool.
Be better.
We're going to get to story number 3. But before we do that, I wanted to give you a quick word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays. 'Tis the season of giving. Get the perfect gift for a special someone, yourself, or both. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades and quick swap snow goggles that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers an unrivaled product that's just as good as any expensive pair that we've worn. Durable frames and world-class optics for all outdoor adventures. With an extensive array of styles and colors, you're bound to find the perfect pair of Shady Rays sunglasses. You already know I've been out Pokemon going, and Shady Rays have been making me look as dope as I want out in the real world. And that's not all. If you lose or break your pair, even on day 1, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Shady Rays is currently in their biggest sale of the year for Black Friday. Don't miss out on the best deals for shades, snow goggles, and prescription sunglasses. You can go to shadyrays.com and try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Again, that's shadyrays.com for their biggest sale of the year. We're back with story number 3. The Game Awards has considered adding Best Remake and Best Supporting Actor awards. This comes from, once again, Chris Scullion at VGC.
Shout out Chris Scullion.
Shout out to Chris Scullion for watching the Keighley stream and then writing articles about it.
Yeah, he was like, I got nothing to do on a Sunday night. I guess, he's in the UK, so it's probably Monday afternoon.
The Game Awards host and producer, Geoff Keighley, says he's been considering other awards to add to the show, including Best Remake and Best Supporting Actor. During a recent Twitch Q&A, Keighley was asked if there were any plans for new award categories at the Game Awards. He replied that while there are no new categories this year, the idea of adding new categories is regularly discussed. Nothing new this year. I've seen people online saying, why don't you have a Best DLC category, which is kind of like the ongoing game category. Typically, that's been live service games, but this year Cyberpunk 2077 is nominated. And when people ask why it's nominated, well, because they improved the base game in a big way with version 2.0 and Phantom Liberty. So that's sort of in that category. The other thing people always ask is why we don't have a Best Remake or Remaster category. We've talked about it. I think the question is, are there 5 amazing remakes every year? Some years there are. There were some amazing ones this year. Obviously, Resident Evil 4 is nominated for Game of the Year. Dead Space, a bunch of other good ones that came out this year. And the question also then is, would those remakes not be eligible for Game of the Year? So yeah, nothing new this year category-wise, but it's definitely something that we talk about each year and try to evaluate the best way to go about that. Later in the stream, Keighley was then asked if a Best Supporting Actor category is something that could be added to the show, given the increased number of impressive performances made possible by improving capture technology. Keighley replied this was another category that's been discussed, but its inclusion would have both pros and cons. We've talked about it. There are a lot of great performances. On the other side, we do have some people who say you guys focus a bit too much on the narrative aspects of games, and you're too much like the Oscars. You have writing and acting and those types of awards, and you should be focused more on gameplay-driven things. Supporting performance is something we've definitely thought about. I'm proud that our acting award's been gender neutral. We started in 2014. We don't have actor and actress awards. We really just blend them into one acting category, which I think was the right call we made back in the day.
Very fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
I love to hear that this is the conversation they regularly have, because over the years, I feel like the Game Awards categories haven't changed that much. They added Best Adaptation, which was pretty cool, and I think the changes we get are very, these small additions or small subtractions to stuff they do. Things like what was it, Trending Gamer? They ended up replacing with like best was it best content creator or
content
best
creator of the year, I think. Yeah.
Stuff like that. And so I like the fact that they look into this stuff and tweak and figure things out accordingly. I've also had similar questions of like, best supporting actress or best supporting actor or best supporting performer or whatever, right? And I think, the point of, these are video games, right? And so like, I think there has to be a balance of the narrative, performative aspect of video games, but then also the gameplay. I think you can only have so many categories before it starts to get bloated and before stuff starts to get lost. And so I think for me, I appreciate that of, hey, yeah, let's just have best performer and then just have that be the catch-all for that, and then work on the other ones. Best remake, that's a category that I agree. I'm aligned fully with Geoff there in terms of, yeah, like how many remakes are we getting in a year? And then also on the other hand, I'm like, why do people have such a problem with the remake being nominated for Game of the Year? Like, I think for those ones, especially something like Resident Evil 4 remake, that's practically a new game. Like, that is from the ground up. They are redoing everything. Like, the gameplay isn't the same. Like that, like it follows the same story, the same template. Like there's similarity there, but that's practically a new game, especially when you go back to something like RE2 remake, right? That is especially a new game. I think for those, it has to be case by case of how much change to a remake constitutes something being up there for a Game of the Year. Like, how fresh does it feel? I can understand if people had that issue with Shadow of the Colossus remake back in 2018, because that is like beat for beat the same game. But even then, it's like, well, if it's the best game of the year, then who is it harming, right? Like, what is that taking away? And so, yeah, I like the fact that we still have the remakes being nominated in Game of the Year. But yeah, I like a lot of what he's talking about here.
I'm right there with you. I feel like the conversation's important, but I think that there's, at the end of the day, awards and all this stuff, it's all just made up frameworks to try to celebrate people and try to make money. And that's true for any industry, and that is impossible to not be true. That's just inherently how these things work. Because if you're just making a million categories to satisfy every single specific thing, then yeah, it turns into noise. It doesn't become important anymore. But the flip side of that means you have to kind of work within this rigid template of here's what the awards are. So yeah, there's best action game, best action adventure game, just best game. It's like, what's the difference really between these? Mm-hmm. Like, and it starts getting add RPG to that. And it's just like, sometimes inherently you just know. And other times you don't. You got to kind of make things work a little bit. And that can be very frustrating when Sifu gets nominated for best fighting game, because we all know that's stupid. Mm-hmm. But also, I get it, and it's people voting. So it's like the people are speaking, the people are nominating. Yeah. It's not like it's just like a couple randos deciding this. Like, and that's another problem here is like the way this works is like it needs 5. You need the 5 different nominations, and like even like I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about this, so I'm gonna stop now. But I feel like the way that it all ends up happening is it's not Geoff Keighley deciding these are the games. 120 outlets are saying these are the games for these categories. Yeah. So we can disagree just as much as everyone else disagrees. But the majority of people that have been trusted to make these decisions chose this. And I feel like that kind of adding more or less or whatever, it's just going to make it different problems. It's not going to solve any of them.
Like, I mean, I have my own suggestions, right? Like, I've talked about before about how I feel like best action and best action adventure are basically the same category. And I could see combining those and taking best RPG and then dividing that up into best turn-based and best action RPG, because I feel like there's more significant, like, meaningful difference between those two categories than something like action and action adventure. And I think I think that's getting into the conversation of a video games award show, and how do you make sure that games are being categorized in the right way, and how we make sure that we're honoring games in the correct way for excelling at what they're doing. But yeah, like for a lot of these, like, best remake, best whatever, like I think it does just end up being like all right, how do we make this make sense, right? Like, how do we make sure that it's not becoming a bigger thing than it is? And also, like, I think to the 5 games thing for best remake and best fighting game, for example, you know, the reason why Sifu got nominated that one year is probably because there weren't enough fighting games, right? And so Sifu gets in there because, I don't know, man, Sifu's a game with really good fighting in it. And the solution that comes to mind, but I understand why Geoff and the team probably wouldn't do it, would be to have like a rotation of those kind of categories where it is, hey, we're not doing best fighting game every year. Instead, we're rotating between best fighting, best horror, best remake, best whatever, just based on where we're at the end of the year and how many of these kind of games came out at the end of the year. I understand though that you want consistency year to year. That way you can build this level of prestige around the category. But I do think that some level of that needs to get fixed or figured out. Because yeah, I think when you have multiple years where you look at the fighting game category and you go, that's not a fighting game, then the question has to become, do we have a fighting game category, or do we combine a fighting game category with just best multiplayer or something?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, again, it just gets so hard because, like, why is there a strategy section, but there's not a rhythm game section, or not a this section, or not a that section? Like, you can always add more because there's so much to celebrate. But
yeah,
I feel like there's problems inherently with how it is currently because there's no getting away from that. And I think that's the biggest issue with this. And I feel like if you added a best remake category, can you imagine how upset people would be?
Oh, dude,
that's a retelling. That's a reimagining. That's a whatever.
Whatchamacallit? Metroid Prime make it into this because it is a remaster. They call it a remaster.
Yeah. Does then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth make it into that? Like,
don't get me started.
Like, it's just you know, it's like we all fucking need to just try our best to understand intent as opposed to specific things being said. Story number 4. Keighley weighs in on debate over Dave the Diver qualifying for Best Indie Game. Guess who this comes from? Chris Scully.
Chris Scully and the homie.
The Game Awards host and producer Geoff Keighley did what I just said. The game's nomination sparked debate over what makes an indie game, because despite having the conventional lo-fi appearance that some indie games have, its developer Mint Rocket is a small team with Nexon, a South Korean company that made $1.8 billion in revenue in 2021 alone. Keighley answered that the definition of an indie game is hard to define, and that ultimately it's up to the Game Awards jury to pick up nominees. Look, it's a great question. Independent can mean different things to different people, and it's sort of a broad term. You can argue, does independent mean the budget of a game? Does independent mean where the source of financing was? Does it mean the team size? Is it the kind of independent spirit of the game, meaning a smaller game that's sort of different? I think everyone has their own opinion about this, and we really defer to our jury of 120 global media outlets who vote on these awards to make that determination of is something independent or not. You know, in other industries, sometimes there are things, I think in the film industry, the budget can be above this amount of dollars or it's not independent. So I don't know. Some people have said Larian with Baldur's Gate 3, that's an independent game. Kojima Productions with Death Stranding. Some people say that's an independent game. And even though that's an independent studio, of course, it's funded by PlayStation. Keighley also pointed out that some of the other indie games nominated this year's Game Awards have publishers, asking if you have a publisher, is that still independent or not? Addressing Dave the Diver specifically, he said, that game is made by a group named Mint Rocket. It's a smaller game from a smaller group, but it's part of Nexon. They're employees of Nexon, which is a very large publisher. So I think it's a fair debate and discussion. Is that game truly independent or is it not? And you can kind of argue it either way. It's independent in spirit, and it's a small game. I don't know what the budget is, but it's probably a relatively small budgeted game. But it's from a larger entity. Whereas there are other games on that list that are from much smaller studios. But even something like Dredge is published by Team 17. So is that independent or not? Because you have a publisher. It's a really complicated thing to figure out and come up with strict rules around it. So we let people use their best judgment, and you can agree or disagree with the choices.
Cool.
I could not agree more with every single thing he just said, where it's like, look, clearly people don't agree on this. So even if you think you're right, even if you know you're right, you're not, because people disagree, and so there is a tear there. I think it comes down to, if enough people are nominating this, it is what it is, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with it, but also, like, I'm on the same side of, like, well, enough of us are idiots that nominated this thing. You know what I mean? Like, we're in that crew, right? We're one of the Game Awards judges, and so, like, you know, we're part to blame too. But hey, like, with this conversation, I think we've got one. I think Geoff lays it out pretty clearly, and also we've gone in circles about it enough over the last few weeks where I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I don't even care anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Like, I get why you look at Dave the Diver and go, oh yeah, like, independent game, right? Like, I think the only thing we're in here that I sort of look at is the term independent versus indie, and how, like, I think independent has literal meaning to it. Whereas like indie, made up word technically, and so you can define indie however you want. That's the only thing. And I understand also that even when you look at it as independent, sure, like if a game is published by Annapurna, or if a game is published by Devolver, or if a studio is owned by Devolver and then published by Devolver too, like how does that fall into all this? I think it's all weird and made up, and so
yeah,
it is what it is.
Totally. And I feel like if Geoff were to come out and be like, hey, we take the wording of these, I don't know why I keep forgetting the word category. The wording of these categories extremely seriously. Like if a game does not hit these, we're not allowing it in, then it's a different story. Clearly that's not the case. Again, Sifu fighting game. Like at the end of the day, people are nominating these things in here and we just kind of have to deal with it. Will it win?
We'll see.
We'll see.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It is a stat category.
Story number 5. ReedPop seeks buyer for Eurogamer, GamesIndustry.biz, VG247, Rock, Paper, Shotgun, and more. This comes from Christopher Dring at GamesIndustry.biz. ReedPop is investigating the potential sale of its gamer network business. The UK-based operation includes GamesIndustry.biz, Eurogamer, Rock, Paper, Shotgun, VG247, and Dicebreaker. The business also holds shares in Outside Xbox, Digital Foundry, and Hookshot. Not included in the sale are UK-based events EGX or MCM, or the digital brand Popverse. ReedPop acquired Gamer Network in 2018 to create a world's leading events and media group for the gaming community. The company already operated major shows, including PAX and New York Comic Con. However, the COVID-19 pandemic put a stop to these events, forcing the business to cut back, which led to the closure of US Gamer and the standalone EGX Rezzed event. The company said in a statement, ReedPop, part of RX, has reviewed its UK business and decided to investigate the potential sale of its gamer network and associated editorial digital properties. We believe that new ownership offers the best conditions for the growth of the business.
This is wild. Yeah. Because there's multiple places. There's multiple big angles to come at this from, right? Like, one, it sucks to see the sale of these outlets, or at least like it sucks to see the fate of these outlets kind of in the ether right now, right? Like we have to wait and see what happens, who picks them up, like how do they follow up on what they're already doing and all that. But you can look through that list, and GamesIndustry.biz, like that's such a good website. That's a website that we reference on the show all the time for articles. They do really great work in the industry, and the same goes for Eurogamer. The same goes for Rock, Paper, Shotgun, VG247, right? Like we reference those websites all the time. I go to those websites all the time for video game news. And as this year goes, and as the last decade has gone, I feel like in games media, you've seen so many websites fall to the wayside. US Gamer was one of the ones that was under ReedPop that we saw go away. And that stuff sucks because the more and more you see that, the more and more you see damage to games media and games coverage and games news and who's doing the reporting and all that stuff. And so that sucks. I think the other side of this is like the events side to ReedPop, which I'm sure like you might know more about, but I've been to multiple of the ReedPop thrown events, and it sucks to see events that I love, right? Like PAX is ReedPop, correct? Yeah. Like I've been to PAX West and PAX East multiple times. PAX West I was going every single year when I lived in Seattle, and that was such a good community. Oh man, I'm looking forward to this every single year. Like this is such a fun time. And not that this article is talking about PAX or anything going away, right? But ReedPop having trouble, ReedPop having this shakeup makes me worry about the future of things like PAX and the future of these big events. And so I hope to not see something like PAX go away, right? And I also hope to not see these websites go away, right? I hope they land in good hands, but it is a very worrisome news story.
I mean, remember, Bless, it was just 2 months ago, September 7th, 2023, that ReedPop and ESA part ways over E3. ReedPop was the E3 people in recent years. So yeah, they've definitely been going through it. When you look at even their most successful conventions, things like PAX, they're a shell of their former selves from all accounts. Still fun, still great, but there was glory days, I would say, of 2013 to 2019, really. It might have even been a little before then, because they did overextend a bit when there was PAX South and PAX Australia, and then all the RTXs as well, that all the international ones were helped with ReedPop. There was just a lot of similar conventions, but there was still a very palpable energy to them, and it allowed people to gather and have community over all this stuff, which I think is so important. But then now to see, obviously because of the pandemic stuff, that affect their con business so much, for them to then double down on the more digital media side of it. And then now what digital media is, I mean, floundering. Like things are just not good, y'all.
Yeah.
Like it is hard out there, and we're seeing that. And like so many of the acquisitions, the layoffs, and all of this stuff, so much of it is bad people doing bad things, and then so much of it is good people that just can't make it work. And it's like when it comes down to this, it's like, man, we just named like 10 websites, and I'm familiar with about 7 of them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? We go to events and we do a preview event for, I mean, I'm just going to say random shit like Avatar, the new game coming out. We walk into a room, there's 30 people there, and those people have name tags that have these names on them. You know what I mean? And it's scary to think that, like, I mean, we've already noticed this, that there are less and less names as you go. There's less and less people going to these preview events, and it's because it's essentially IGN. It's essentially IGN.
Yeah.
There's IGN there, and then there's us, which is kind of like IGN adjacent. You know what I mean? And then there's GameSpot, but really it's Giant Bomb. And then there's like a lot of the like Eurogamer and VGC, things like that we're starting to see. But I feel like there used to be 100 different outlets at these events, and now it's like it's happening before our eyes, seeing like how it's dwindling. And I look at this and I'm like, this is not going to end well. This is not going to end in these 10 websites existing.
Yeah, right. Like usually when we see this happen, it is somebody picks them up, and then it is layoffs, right? It is consolidation. It is figuring out how to lean up the staff. That way we can maximize how much money we're making, and like we see identity changes, right? Like the thing that scares me is the idea of somebody picking up GamesIndustry.biz or VG247 or Rock Paper Shotgun and them turning into content farms, as opposed to like actual websites that have actual people working for them with actual personality that are doing work that they're proud of and have fun with, right? Like you want to see writers and content creators given the space to create and given the space to try and move forward the industry, right? And talk about topics that need to be talked about, and like write the articles that are, pushing the conversation forward, or at the very least, like, reporting on news in a way that's great. Like I don't want to see any of these websites get bought up and all of a sudden AI articles. Like that is my biggest fear for what happens with this stuff, because then you're going to see the quality of the stuff go down, and it's going to affect everybody. And so, like on both sides of the games media editorial side of it, and then also on the big games in, I guess, like, nerd culture events side of it, like both of those I feel like are such important pillars of the industry that have been struggling in terms of maintaining their value and bringing in the money. And man, I don't want to see them go away in a way that's like going to tank both, because like I love events. I miss going to events, right? Like, the pandemic had such a big effect on it. But like in the heyday of going to PSX, going to PAX, going to another PAX, and then a third PAX, I love those days. And I think those are just so valuable to, I guess, keeping a community. And so like I hope this stuff goes a better way. I hope we see these sites and all the stuff laying on their feet. But my hope there is like, it's not like,
it's hope. It's
hope.
what it is.
Yeah.
Story number 6, ByteDance is restructuring its video game business. This comes from Andy Robinson at
Whoa.
VGC. Chinese TikTok parent ByteDance is restructuring its video games business and reportedly stopping work on all unreleased games. The company, which is the parent of Marvel Snap publisher Nuverse, told Reuters? Is it Reuters? Reuters.
Yep.
We've never, ever in a million
why is it
worlds.
spelled like that?
Reuters?
Is that a bit? Because I'm pretty sure it's Reuters. I'm like 90% sure.
I mean, I believe it's Reuters.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's weird enough that it makes sense to me. In a statement that it had decided to restructure its gaming business after a review. Upon further review, we regularly review our businesses and make adjustments to center on long-term strategic growth areas. Following a recent review, we've made the difficult decision to restructure our gaming business. According to sources, ByteDance will stop working on unreleased games by December and look for ways to divest from titles already launched. The source said the decision is likely to impact hundreds of employees, some of whom learned about the move at the weekend. ByteDance's launch of Nuverse in 2019 was seen as a major push into the global games market and a strategic move in its competition with domestic rival Tencent, which is the world's biggest gaming company. Marvel Snap tweeted, "Dear Snappers," don't call me that. Some of our players have expressed their concerns regarding reported structural changes at Nuverse. We wish to thank you for your concern and assure you that regardless of any changes at Nuverse, Snap will continue to operate and flourish in the future.
You don't like being called a snapper?
I don't know, man. Something about it just doesn't feel right. I'll be snapping though.
You do be snapping. Are you still snapping?
Oh yeah. I was talking about this last month where I was like, I think I've gotten so into Pokemon Go that like I think I need to let Snap go. Like I need to just stop at least for a while. And I was like, once a season doesn't interest me, I'll stop.
Yeah.
And it's been like 3 seasons. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to keep doing this one.
Oh my God.
I think I'm just hooked. I think I'm in it for the long haul. But no, still having a great time with Snap. This is obviously more concerning news when it comes to all this. I'd be willing to bet that the Marvel Snap team is going to be okay. And if anything, that it just kind of like, because they've seen major success with all of this.
Yeah.
It's more just like the expanding into trying to be another Tencent, which, you know, maybe not the best either.
Not the best. Yeah. Okay. We want to be the number one top or, you know, best revenue games business in the business, right? Like, yeah, that's going to be a tough thing to try and achieve.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, honestly, if you're anybody that's going to try to attempt that, being the parent company of TikTok is like, I feel like you have the chance to get there as the parent company of TikTok. But also, that's also a big that's also an easy route to failure, right? Hey, we just want to make a lot of money. Like we want to enter the space, make a lot of money in this space by any means necessary. Like, yeah, you're going to look at your financials and go, oh, that's not enough, and then start to clear house.
I would not be surprised if they look at it and they're just like, yo, Marvel Snap is stupid successful. Like, I think we got our golden goose. And it's just like, we're not going to match this again. Because it was like such a perfect storm of like, I mean, it won a game award and it's keeping people happy and it's like gamers happy and it's making hella money.
Yeah.
Hella money. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, my big hope here is that Marvel Snap is okay, right? Like, to your point, it's making so much money that I can't imagine it not being okay. Even if somebody comes through and scoops it up and is like the next owner of it, I would think that you look at Marvel Snap and go, "Don't touch a thing."
Yeah,
like, let that continue to make money in.
They're just good, man. All right, well, moving on from that story. Number 7, Destiny 2: The Final Shape expansion has officially been pushed. Destiny the Game Twitter account tweets, the release date for the Final Shape has moved to June 4th, 2024 to allow for an even bigger and bolder vision. New content available is also in development, including Destiny 2 Into the Light, a 2-month content update for all players starting in April.
Cool.
Wow.
This was, reported before, and then Bungie came out and were like, nah, we're still doing this. It's still coming out in February, and then now we get the official delay of it. All right. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
I hope it's great when it comes out.
Yeah, and to Barrett's point earlier about like 2024, like it's interesting that like we still have so many questions. Like I feel like this always happens, but after the Game Awards, I think it'll be a little bit more clear like what 2024 looks like. But we do have enough release dates already to kind of be like, okay, like we're starting to see a picture of this, and now getting dates all the way out till June. It's like, all right, cool. Not the Destiny 2. The shape-shifting face or whatever the hell it is.
Shape.
The final shape is going to be like, the biggest release of all time. But like, this is kind of a big deal. And like the Destiny 2 expansions always get attention and like conversation going. So them holding down that spot makes sense to me, especially knowing that it's very close to Summer Game Fest. Yeah. Right? Like, I'm not expecting too many major releases in June otherwise, Yeah,
and I think right now, I think after Game Awards, you make a good point that after Game Awards, we're going to have a pretty good lay of the land of what 2024, at least the first half of 2024 looks like. But I think even now, when I think about this year, or when I think about the upcoming, let's say first half of 2024, compared to previous years, I might not include 2023 in it because 2023 is insane. But I feel like we have like a pretty standard looking first half of the year so far. Like February is packed as like it has been for the last like 5 years or so, right? But you look at February and we got a date for Persona 3, Suicide Squad, Helldivers, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth,
February 29th, baby.
And in January, right? January you got Tekken 8, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Last of Us Part 2 remastered, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. Like already the first couple months of next year are looking insane. And I think Game Awards we're probably going to get a few more dates for March, a few more dates for April, and then I think once we get into next year, we'll learn about what the second half of next year looks like.
And I mean, just jumping in there with Nintendo, we have Pizza Showtime, we have Thousand Year Door, like we have Mario or Luigi's Mansion, Dark Moon
The
remake
Three
or
Horsemen,
whatever
yeah.
the fuck. Yeah,
The
but
Mario
like
vs. Donkey Kong.
you know, those are all. We imagine. I forgot what the latest date was, but I think it was like
July, I think.
Something like So like we know that we're gonna get a bunch of Nintendo shit month to month, which is exciting.
Yeah.
But real quick, you were talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yeah.
Imran the Don Khan came through last week, and me and him went through both of the Rebirth trailers and just breaking down our theories and like what we think we're seeing. You can check it out on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. But it was awesome. It was about almost an hour of us talking, having a good time. And he blew my mind at multiple points about what he thinks might be going on. A couple fun things in there. So highly recommend y'all check this out.
It's a great conversation as someone who didn't love Remake. Just like a lot of the theories that y'all were talking about, it's like, damn. I'm being brought back in. I'm being brought back in.
Yeah, so y'all should check that out. Oh, yeah, I'm hosting.
Yeah.
But y'all checking that out? Hopefully it's not that far away. But if I want to know what's coming to Mom and Grop shops today, where would I look?
You look toward the official list of upcoming software across each and every platform as listed by the Kind of Funny Games Daily Show hosts each and every weekday.
Yeah.
Out today, we got Suicide Guy VR Deluxe on PSVR 2.
Suicide Guy VR.
Okay.
Barrett, I'm gonna need a trailer for Suicide Guy
Absolutely.
VR.
Fuck not.
New dates for you. Dragon's Dogma 2 is getting a showcase November 28th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Yeah, cool.
Cool.
Deals of the day. Ubisoft's currently giving away the PC version of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which is, if I remember correctly, very highly rated on Barrett Courtney's Assassin's Creed.
Some would say it's the best Assassin's Creed.
Some would.
Whoa.
Still to this day.
Some would. There it is. Look at that. Number one spot.
The art style to Suicide Guy, a lot more cuter than you'd expect.
Yeah?
A lot more, yeah.
It looks very Wreck-It Ralphie.
Yeah, it kind of does look a bit Wreck-It Ralphie, but you're like in first person. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Yep,
no.
there's-
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, well, there it is. We're going to stop that trailer.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Wow, what a show, Bless. What a show.
What a show.
What a time.
We can run
the
here.
twists, the turns. You can go to kindoffunny.com/you're-wrong to let us know what we get wrong as we screw it up in the show. Let's see. Ooh, some good ones here. Jorel writes in, Babe Pig in the City was not in New York. It was in a fictional city of Metropolis that was a combination of many cities. The Eiffel Tower is seen next to the Empire State Building in front of the Sydney Opera
That's
House.
insane.
What the fuck,
That's
man?
awesome.
All right, we gotta do
Babe in Review.
Babe in Review.
We gotta
It's
do
time.
it.
Is that part of DC Universe since they're in Metropolis?
Metropolis, man. These are very important questions. I watched Babe for the first time since I was a little kid last year.
Mhm.
That is a 10 out of 10 motion picture. I'm not even fucking kidding, dude. It is. I thought it was like, oh, it's a good for a kid's movie. Nah, man. Babe is
Really?
incredible.
I don't even think I've heard of Babe.
What?
Babe Pig in the city.
No, just look up Babe. Just Babe. Pig in the
Babe.
City was the, the sequel.
Okay.
But I haven't
Never
watched
mind.
it, so I don't know.
Never mind. I've seen this fucking pig. Yeah, I've seen this pig.
Man, you need to throw some respect on Babe's
Let
name.
me tell you, when you type in Babe into Google Images,
Yeah.
you get a bunch of the movie, but then you scroll down and you get some other images.
Yeah. Like, no, Babe's a big deal, dude.
Yeah?
Yeah, hold on. Let me look at some shit up real quick. I remember like the sequel, Pig.
Wow, you just unlocked a memory for me. Holy shit. Was
So-
this like one of those ones that was on TV all the time?
I mean, I guess, but like,
in
dude,
like 2000?
the screenplay was by George Miller. So like, this is like some
Oh, shit.
real serious shit, man. Like the Mad Max guy.
Oh, shit.
It
Yeah.
won some awards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this shit's what did it get? Several
They
Academy
popped off, man.
Award nominations.
Yeah.
So yeah, good for you, dude.
Babe movie, when did that come out? Babe?
95.
95. Okay.
Yeah, dude. I
Damn.
remember seeing it in theaters.
A year after
I was
Lion
hell
King.
little.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Big couple years for animal movies.
talking animals. Yeah.
If you were correcting me from before, talking about, me and Mike had a big old conversation about crocodiles and alligators in GTA 6.
You learn anything important?
Not really. No. I just want one. I want one or the other. Whichever ones are native, or maybe not native. Maybe that's whichever ones could possibly appear in Miami. I want those in GTA 6. Gators. I want an alligator in GTA 6. Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below if you want an alligator in GTA 6.
I saw a leaked map of GTA 6 which like 95% wasn't real.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, there's so many bridges and islands, and I was like, that seems like a gameplay nightmare. You want me to be on fucking bridges for half my time playing this game? But I was looking at it, and I was like, oh man, a bunch of tropical islands though for a GT. Like that sounds kind of cool.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah, go hunting.
Yeah.
Hunt some alligators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gators on the mind, everybody. This week, we got a whole bunch of cool people hosting. We have Greg and Bless tomorrow. Bless and Greg on Wednesday.
Whoa.
Bless and me on Thursday. And then Mike and Andy closing out Friday.
Let's go.
That should be a lot of fun. This has been Kind of Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, we get together to talk about video game news. We're about to do a super fun post show where Andy Cortez is going to join us. You can get your super chats in on YouTube. You can get your hype chats in on Twitch. And we will answer all of your questions that you throw our way. We love you. We appreciate you. And until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you. Welcome to the stage, Andy Cortez. After he gets a chair, he was about to be here, then he left. He left my cold heart. You fuck with Babe, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, this has to be some Mandela effect thing. There's no way all of us were big Babe fans.
No, dude, Babe's so good. There's a classic line. That'll do, pig. That'll do.
That's like
I like
every home had a VHS of Babe.
I barely remember Babe.
That'll do, donkey. He says that too. There's a night like I didn't know that Babe still fucked.
I didn't either until last year.
Like until you saying that right now. Like if you just brought it up, I would have been like, yeah, I watched Babe as a kid and it was awesome because it was a CG pig and that shit was cool. But I didn't know it was still awesome. Everybody, I have the limited edition Steam Deck OLED.
Fuck you.
Look at this.
And I need to see you turn this thing on.
Look at this beaut.
You have to sleep
Oh
sometime,
my god.
Andy.
Oh, maybe,
Holy shit.
Oh, I can't see this.
Maybe it
actually.
already
I can't
has.
see
Fuck,
this.
this is bad for me.
Maybe it already has Hyperlight Drifter. I don't know how that got on there.
So wait, hold on. Let me see this thing. Is the translucent with the orange the only option, or can I get?
That's the limited edition.
But can I get the 1 terabyte OLED?
Black.
You can?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Oh yeah.
That's really not good for me, guys.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh shit.
Welcome in everybody to this little post show prime time super chat, super time prime time. Welcome in everybody. Hope you all had a great holiday. Let's read some resubscriptions and some super chats from anybody who wants to throw over them dollars to get their questions read, or just resubscribing if you have Prime. That stuff's free. If you have a little Twitch Prime, if you have Amazon Prime. What we should have done is had everybody sit their relatives down. They think they're going to like, oh man, our young niece or nephew is going to sit us down for like a really serious political chat here, and they're going to be like,
Can I pop into this?
Oh no, never mind.
Shit,
It's not downloaded.
Okay.
I needed everybody back home to be like, who has Amazon Prime here? To kind of collect all the information and get a bunch of Twitch Primes for us. Kind of funny, but we can do that maybe over the holidays, over Christmas.
I didn't get to do a Thanksgiving with my family, thank God. But I like the idea of sitting down and like, what's the craziest question I could ask right now? You know, sitting down with my family and being like,
it's about to be
like,
insane.
like, who at this table do you trust the least?
Dude, that's so funny you say that. Because not surprisingly, I was watching Real Housewives this weekend, and the worst thing they do is they sit down at a dinner table all together and they're like, let's play a game. And it's never a game. The game's always, hey, if we had to boot one person out of the group, who would it be?
Fuck yeah. See,
like,
that's what I'm trying to be.
And I was talking to Gio, I was like, can you imagine if that was the KF podcast? And I was like, in certain ways, it kind of is sometimes. And I was like, but there's a reverse psychology to it. Where I was like, you could learn a lot about the KF podcast and about the way we think, because the answers we give to those questions are never the right answer. You know what I mean?
Right.
Who are we not saying? You know what I'm talking about? Those are the secrets revealed. I feel like I just showed them the Langford double.
Menu looks so good.
It's a bloody Langford double.
These menus look so great.
Bless just wants to play Among Us in real life with like booting people out all the time.
I literally, I pitched a friend. I was like, yo, what if I threw the biggest and greatest game night of all time, and it was like a triathlon of gaming where we start off and it's like a video game tournament for the first third. Second third is like tabletop stuff culminating in some kind of like deception, like social deduction / deception type game, like a real life Among Us or Mafia or one of those things. And then the last third being like I throw like a big trivia like Jeopardy thing, and I make it an all day event, and like we split up into teams and like make it a big thing. So, Tim, I'm gonna need the studio for that.
Oh, I love it. Love it. Let's go.
I mean, also for one of the Friendsgivings, you did host a
I did host Mafia.
Mafia.
Yeah. And I want to do that, but like make it bigger. You know what I mean?
Hell
and I'll
yeah.
actually think it through because I was coming up with a story for Mafia on the spot, and everything was every person died because they choked on a different Thanksgiving item.
No, it was usually the same one. It was usually a fucking turkey leg.
Oh
wishbone.
Oh man, last night Barrett was eating a turkey leg and he started coughing. That's how every single person died.
And this motherfucker, it was like, everybody go to sleep, and you wake up. It's still Thanksgiving.
It's still Thanksgiving, and
Several days of just like, all right, it's still Thanksgiving.
yeah. Ari's eating some mashed potatoes, and
It's a weird holiday.
turns out Ari's
Weird
allergic.
fantasy you
But
got.
then she falls back and lands on an EpiPen, and she's safe because the nurse saved her.
TJK, Dan Rolls, Boss Jacob, Let Me Flash on a Faint Aphid, Identity, Skull Bonzi, Lego Jesus.
Oh, Bonzi.
All
Lego Jesus.
resubscribed on
Thank you.
Twitch. Some of them using Prime.
So I saw you had Chance of Sonar on there. Start playing that over the weekend a little bit. I am not smart. I am I'm an idiot. I am so lost in this game.
There will be some guessing game in there. There will be some like, well, I mean, it's got to be this one. Let me place it in. Oh, it did. Oh, that one worked.
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
that's where I'm at. I'm looking at the book and they're like showing me 3 images, and I'm like, oh, I do not know what any of these symbols mean.
I'm near the end of it, and it is like I'm trying to do fractions, and it's wild. But yeah, a couple of people resubscribed with Prime. Some of them were tier 1s. Like Boss Jacob was a tier 1 for over 3 years. Failure to Think gifted 2 subs. We got Lakers Head 78 months as Pikmin 4 should be on the Game of the Year list instead of Mario Wonder.
There you go.
I
Eddie,
love Pikmin 4 fans because they ride or die for their game.
good for
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
man. I got some questions about this OLED because I'm on the brink. You know what I mean? I'm about to jump.
Mhm.
All right. Looking at this thing, my problems now. They've solved so many of them, but my problems are don't love how much bezel there is. I get that I'm just being a little picky boy here.
Well, there's that much bezel because it's a 1280 by 800 display.
yeah,
Um,
sounds like a them problem.
so most games are going to kind of cut off or whatever.
yeah,
But this is less bezel than the
and the
OG.
other one, yeah. But I mean, even just looking here, just looking at the actual bezel. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And then the other thing is, I can't figure out a way to get my fingers comfortable with the shoulder buttons. Like-
so that's where the back buttons come into play for me. For like games like Neon White, where I'm using where a lot of it is trigger and shoulder.
Yeah.
I just focus on doing trigger and then the back buttons.
Yeah,
and
see, that's-
I'll
I was-
remap.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's my biggest tip if you do the jump, and then another one Andy was talking about, like some games, it'll be cut off and won't fully kind of fill the aspect ratio with the 1200 by 800 or whatever it is. If you play around with some back end stuff, you can make a lot of games fit that aspect ratio.
And some games do run at 1280 by 800 anyway. Hyper Light Drifter wasn't because that's just a much older game, but like Chance of Sonar does. Yeah, a lot of them just have that kind of built into their internal resolutions.
But are you just like over the moon with this thing?
Oh yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah, I was sick all weekend, and like all I did was play Chance of Sonar and Blasphemous 2. Real good time. Real good
I
time.
played some Venba.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, on my
some
Switch.
emotional times.
Oh man, I like that game had me in my feels. Yeah, I might talk about it on like PS Love or something, but it's a good game.
Josh Topher with 73 months total, 27 in a row says, thanks for always entertaining using Prime on us. Jamal Live 66, Rook 38 months, DC Sports Fan 73, Invisible Man 23 months of Tier 1 love,
Thank you.
Somewhat Dark Knight 2 years of support using Prime. Keep them Primes coming. Thank you everybody. Buckskin Stud, a $2 super chat says, love you guys. Have a gooder day. Okay.
We'll try.
Arturo Tron Robo Bartender, 5 months of Tier 1 love. We got a $5 super chat from Jace Drone. Says, is there a non-spoilerly way to have a best hype moment category? And why would Final Fantasy 16 take every single nomination? Maybe Rusty from AC6 takes one slot. No, I can think of a couple from Tears of the Kingdom that would be there as well.
A good few.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but that's the problem. We could do it, but like in
There's
a
no way to-
non-spoiler way.
yeah,
No,
it's-
like that's the whole point is the spoilers.
Turn
man.
off your camera.
But yeah, like
turn off your phone.
I think we're gonna do something like that.
Yeah, I think
on
we
one
got
of the Gamescast.
gonna do like a best moment.
But like, yeah, that section we'll just have to be like, yo, like
Yeah.
we're going
We're
spoilers,
spoiling.
which we did last year too.
Yeah,
Because I remember I talked about
there's
Ninja
some Armored
Turtles.
Core moments I might throw in there.
There's, I mean, Yes, there is.
We got Sky Forceland, $10 super chat. Thank you, Sky. Very, very generous of you. He says, "Sup, y'all? I need video game soundtrack recommendations.
Ooh.
I prefer ambient orchestral stuff like Firewatch, Horizon, The Last of Us, Life is Strange, but I'm open for others. Thanks. Nice jacket, Tim."
Nier Automata will always be my recommendation. The Nier orchestral soundtrack is fucking incredible. And a lot of it is vocals. Like a lot of it is like choir vocals, and they're all singing and chanting in a made-up language, and it's very cool.
I would also throw a Nier Replicant there because different vibes, but a little bit more in tune with the vibes that they were looking for, I would say. But Automata has that as well.
The biggest cheat code of all time is just look up Distant Worlds, which is the Final Fantasy live orchestra situation. There's like 7 different albums that they've put out, and it's just a greatest hits of every Final Fantasy song, but like fully orchestrated, and it is just gorgeous, man. And like you're talking about music from every single Final Fantasy, so it's like there's so much good stuff in there. And there's like what's great about it is like there'll be like some of it's a mix of all the games, and then some of it's just Final Fantasy 7 or just Final Fantasy 8. And like when they do that stuff, it'll be like Those Who Fight Further, which is like one of the fight songs from Final Fantasy 7. On one of them is fully orchestrated, but then the other is like just a solo pianist. And it's like you get a lot of variation and stuff, and it's unmatched, man.
We got Paper Feller, 14 months with Prime. Jay Bledsoe, 52 months with Prime as well. Deadhead, another 14 months. 28 total with Prime. That was 14 in a row. A first-time subscriber. Shout out to Hellhound using your Prime on us. First time ever joining the Kind of Funny Games Twitch community. Welcome in. Rollus Racer with 3 years total. Says 3 years already. Thanks for all the good times, Kind of Funny crew. You all rock. Thank you, Rollus Racer. Thanks for using your Prime on us. Jeffaz, 60 months. That's 5 years. Says, Andy, what did you think of football over the weekend? It was some good football. The Eagles and Bills game was just so back-to-back nonstop. Luckily for the Eagles, they had the refs on their side. I'm an unbiased fan, though, so I'm just saying that as an unbiased fan. Not that I hate the Eagles or anything, but very, very, very tough to kind of, those pass interferences were never called. DJ Kento, thank you for your 9 months of becoming a member here on the Kind of Funny Twitch or YouTube side. Says Tim, have you watched Sin City on your OLED yet? It's bananas.
I have not. It is on my list though. I've been trying to make my way back through what they call like reference material, which is like these are the 4K Blu-rays you have to watch for whatever. And yeah, Sin City's on the list, so I'm excited for that. But I don't own the HD or 4K HD of that yet. But I did watch the first half of Across the Spider-Verse this weekend. I didn't mean to, but I put it on. I was like, I'm just gonna watch the intro, and then it was like, oh fuck, I just watched for the last hour. you
just pull the dad move and stand in front of the screen with your hand in your pocket.
Real time, man. I'm like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
A lot of times Cool Greg's walked in, just catching me doing weird ass shit, and he never brings it up. He never questions what I'm doing, but it's weird.
Arturo Tron, Robo Bartender, with a $2 super chat. It says lasagna or Chicago deep dish. I go with.
Why are we comparing the two?
Well,
Well,
just
it's
like,
the
what would you
same
pick?
thing.
Maybe like if
Yeah, I'm going deep dish though.
I mean, like, yeah, like deep dish. At least you get. Very few things I love more in life than lasagna.
Yeah.
Like, it's just fucking great. My problem is, it gets a little too samey too quickly. Because like it all tastes the same. Like you get every layer in every bite. Whereas at least with the deep dish, the bread kind of like changes up the texture a bit. You know,
Yeah.
that's why lasagna. I like it when it's crunchy. You know what I mean? I need some of those layers to be burned a little bit.
Yeah.
So at least you're getting some variation in the bites.
go ravioli. I'll throw a little dark horse in there.
Fucking love
Because
ravioli.
I was like again, growing up, it was just like, here's some canned food as over the summer, mom's not here to cook for you. Just open up a little fucking Chef Boyardee ravioli with some.
Oh wow,
little-
you're talking about those
Oh, it's
ravioli.
delicious,
I'll
man.
fucking
Over deep
inhale
dish
that
pizza
shit.
is insane.
Yo, I will fucking
Insane.
right now. If you gave me a Chef Boyardee ravioli, I would open that shit. I would just drink it. You know what I mean?
Fuck
Like,
yeah.
let's fucking go.
Hell yeah.
Barrett, my brain is broken because as soon as you said ravioli, I immediately went to ravioli. Give me the formioli. Dumb.
Fucking Adventure
Did you
Time
just
shit is
curse
that?
me?
or
Like,
what?
SpongeBob.
Oh, so that's close. Sean of a New Age 5 years of Prime gaming. Corey Cudney, 66 months, says, I went to my parents' house for Thanksgiving, and if I'm lying, I'm dying. We sat down and watched 5 hours of the new Squid Game reality show, Peak Family Visit.
Awesome.
That's on Netflix?
It is, yeah. Haven't made my way to that yet.
Oh, I saw Blue Beetle.
Oh, finally.
I was like, not terrible.
Yeah.
Not terrible. I like way too long.
Yeah.
But you know, all the jokes were made for me, and George Lopez being a silly ass, like it got me good. I was laughing loudly in several parts, and I just feel like it dragged on way too long near the end. But the action was cool.
Susan Sarandon.
I hated the half mask. The half mask looked terrible.
When they stomp on the MacGuffin, and Susan Sarandon's like, no!
Yeah, it's just wild.
Best acting I've
wild
ever
she
seen.
was in there.
Can I tell you this Pop Crave headline?
Sure.
A Catholic priest has been stripped of his administrative duties after allowing Sabrina Carpenter's Feather music video to be filmed in a Brooklyn church. The Diocese of Brooklyn says it was appalled at what was filmed.
That is so funny. You watch that video?
yeah.
No, I've not seen it. Is it
I watched
crazy?
it last
What's going
night.
on in the video?
I mean, you know,
Sabrina Carpenter doing Sabrina Carpenter things?
yeah.
Hell yeah.
She's carpenting.
Hell yeah. I love
CJ
her.
splits on with a $5 super chat. What does it feel like? Why does it feel like there's a pushback against Stellar Blade's horniness recently, as opposed to Nier and Bayo?
I feel like there's always pushback on those as well. I
Yeah.
think there's just more people feeling comfortable sharing their thoughts of being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bayo is way more horny than Nier, I'm pretty sure. But I'm not really seeing the pushback on the Stellar Blade stuff, but I'm also not on like the Reddits. I didn't even know that game was horny.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just. It's a weird one because that we haven't really seen much of that game anyway. So
Yeah.
I think you have to be really in tune into those communities to see a pushback. But I haven't.
I just find it, I mean, not.
There's always going to be a pushback if you got too much cleave.
I'm just surprised there's a Stellar Blade community. 'Cause That,
Yeah.
that game's not even out.
Exactly,
Like we've
yeah.
gotten like 2 trailers for that game. How are people already like in the Duffy enough to be arguing back and forth about like the horniness of it?
Because it's the internet.
Yeah.
Arsonist with a $5 super chat doing the Triple H line right here. It says, Tim, what do you think about the Crazy Return Survivor Series? R-Truth is back.
That's funny. Our truth is back.
And Randy Orton.
That is exciting. And Randy Orton has returned, and CM Punk has returned. What I think about it, I don't like CM Punk. I'm not a CM Punk fan at all. And I feel like as the years have went on and as more and more has come out about his attitude behind the scenes and like how everything went down at AEW recently, like it's at the point, I know like people we know have had bad interactions with him in real life. Me personally, he was the first interview I ever did. Like my first ever professional interview for IGN was with CM Punk. It was fine to me, but overall, like not a fan of him. And I feel like he can be kind of toxic in the pro wrestling industry. And like, that's not what we need. We don't need shit like that. So on all that side, it's like, kind of bummed that he's getting this attention and this all happening. Having said that, though, just as like taking out all the behind the scenes stuff and just as a product, holy fuck. Like, this is unbelievable. Him coming back was one of the most unexpected things. Like, I mean, CM Punk returning to WWE in Chicago in 2023
His
is
hair looks so
as
good.
crazy as if they said, if at the Game Awards they announced, fuck it, Mario's coming to PlayStation 5. Like, that's how unbelievable it fucking is that this happened.
I think he looks so much cooler with that hair, though.
He looks dope.
I'm thinking of like him at the lowest, most recent times where he's on that stage with Tony Khan and he's like, I work with fucking children and his hair's all and it's like just getting it shaved a little bit. I thought he looked awesome up there.
Yeah, but we are definitely in a golden era of professional wrestling right now. Like,
I need to get back into it.
it's just
I had
anything
such
can happen.
A level of FOMO last night because like I stopped wrestling before even CM Punk entered into the scene. Like, I think right when CM Punk started entering is when I dropped off. And so like seeing the reaction for CM Punk, I was like, man, I've been out of it for too long. Cause like I remember getting hyped over shit when I was a kid, right? Like the fucking like Randy Orton, John Cena beef was like my entire tenure in watching WWE. And so many of those moments had me like, over the moon about what was going on. So yeah, like I was watching the timeline last night and I was like, damn, dude, y'all are eating out here. Like I need to get back into this because this seems like such a fun time.
I mean, they did the thing where they pulled up the copyright. Like, it's the end of the show.
I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
And the music hit after.
I saw the Twitter thread that was like, Yeah, Triple H planned it all by himself. Like, you know, he didn't meet with creative. He was in the room. He was in like the room running all that stuff, calling for the logo, doing all that. And I'm like, that's fucking sick as hell.
It's crazy.
Dude.
I mean,
Dude,
yeah,
the picture of them both, he's like, it's a cold day in hell.
Yeah.
Damn,
dude.
dog.
I mean, because he famously went out and said it'll be a cold day in hell before I return to WWE.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it's
why.
dude, there's so much stuff like going into this, and yeah, like what's fun to me is that somehow in 2023, when social media is what it is and Reddit is what it is, and there are people that think they know more and actually know more than the creatives at WWE of what's going on, that there can be genuine surprises like this.
Yeah.
Like, and there's good and bad there. You know what I mean? Like, but like last night we saw Seth Rollins yelling and throwing up the middle fingers at CM Punk, and we're all like, how real is this? And the fact that I'm a 34-year-old man asking how real something is in wrestling is fucking crazy. But there's legitimacy to it.
Yeah, I mean, that interview everybody's posting the interview of Seth Rollins being like, no, we don't want him back. He's a cancer. Like, he's a jerk to work with. No, I don't like him. Like, is that any secret that he's hard to work with?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. Like, that seemed kind of like real. But the flipping off, that may be exaggerated. Either way, it's cool as hell.
Yeah.
The highest of arts.
Who's the toxic the dude in Community that everybody disliked?
Chevy Chase.
Chevy
Chase.
Chase. It's like Chevy Chase coming back.
Exactly,
He showed
yeah.
up in the movie.
Yeah, explain this to me like I'm a 70-year-old. BJ Bernardo, $5 super chat says, I had surgery to remove one of my kidneys last Friday. It was pretty scary, but for the record, I lived, y'all. I'm going to credit it to I lived, bitch. Thank you, BJ Bernardo. Hope you're feeling better.
Yeah.
And you'd been writing in quite some time of like updates from the hospital. So good to hear that you're on the mend, BJ Bernardo. Thank you for your $5 super chat from William Millard. Says, after seeing the state of cloud gaming over the last couple of years, what's our analysis of Stadia and how it would be viewed today? I think it would still feel like an extra, competitor joining a race that's already lost, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, so much has happened with things like the Steam Deck and with NVIDIA GeForce, and just like people have gotten it right or as right as possible at this time with tech. And I feel like because of that, Google Stadia would have a better chance at surviving, but there's still so many things they would need to pull off that they just don't have. Like, they have the cloud, and they obviously, like with Google, they're Google. They have the internet infrastructure, but they clearly didn't have the connections to game developers and publishers and all of that they needed. Whereas something like NVIDIA, they're tapped in. Like, they have access to that. And then on the hardware side, like, we have so many other companies that are making things that make that product make sense. Google never quite did that.
Yeah, and plus when you can just, what cloud service should I sign up with? I see Xbox. I see NVIDIA, who does a lot of video game stuff. Google Stadia, I don't really know what they have to do with games. It's kind of a tougher sell, I think. DJ Kento says, blessing out here trying to glass onion you all with a $2 super chat.
That's onion.
You're trying to kill everybody at the dinner party.
Oh, yeah.
He sets it up as like a whole murder mystery.
Drago gifted a sub. Smoking Token, 30 months of Prime Gaming subscription. We got Gary the Third, 65 months. Says, happy holidays, y'all. Hope to see some of y'all at the Game Awards. Bless.
Yeah.
And Greg.
Maybe you'll see me.
We'll be there. Tyler's New Groove, 45 months with Prime, says, what game should I play over the break? RE4, AC Mirage, or Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty? I'd say Cyberpunk.
I say Cyberpunk.
Same.
I beat that over the break. My God.
Yeah.
What a holy shit. What
That end, like, it's hard to imagine somebody not being emotional at that ending. It's insane how well they pull it
so
off.
damn good. $10 super chat from Michael Cardena says, Bless was wronged by You're Wrong last week. Crocodiles do live in Florida. So do alligators. Florida is the only place in the world where they coexist in the wild.
Oh, so I've been right this whole time.
But it's also like the team is the Florida Gators, so that's why they're known for alligators. The college team.
What are they doing in Florida? Why do y'all have both crocodiles and alligators?
Plus,
that's insane.
They have open hunting contests for fucking boa constrictors and pythons. Like, they'll be like, go kill as many pythons as you get. The one who kills the most wins the award or whatever.
Florida's like the Australia of the United States.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wild.
Yeah, you'd see like that guy, the kangaroo fight the guy or whatever, like in Australia. That'll happen in Florida.
That could happen in
That'll be a
Florida
Florida
for
man,
sure.
though, not the kangaroo.
Yeah.
Lexi Gunner, 77 months of Tier 1 subscription, says, cheers to the start of the great week, boys. Thank you, Lexi Gunner. We got Rob with half a year. says, hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Lexi Gunner. Captain Mark says, Tim, I just got an LG C3 OLED. Are there any
Congrats.
settings or quirks that I should be switching off with this TV? Switching on or off?
Whole bunch of them. And honestly, at this point, like we're so lucky we live in this world. But LG OLEDs have just kind of become ubiquitous with like a lot of people own them and they're kind of the standard TV. Like even Best Buy presents it as like, buy this fucking TV. So there's a ton of guides out there. And I don't think that there's not like a specific guide like follow these. Like
It's always like your room situation kind of.
yeah, just YouTube, LG C3 settings. And like if the video has a lot of views, it's probably going to be
Leave motion smooth on. That shit looks cool. Looks all fast.
Shut up, Andy.
Ben Bloblik with 3 months of becoming a member on the YouTube site says, I finished Armored Core 6 for the 3rd time after hearing Andy talk about getting back in new missions and the characters in New Game Plus Plus. Will you play more? Oh, will I play more? Probably not. I mean, I not in a serious way. I just kind of hop in every once in a while, do a mission here and there, but I'm playing. I started replaying Resident Evil 4 Remake over the weekend.
8-Bit Louise and Deeful are putting rtings.com with ratings.com without the A. Yeah, they're I'd say the gold standard resource to at least start at, but I feel like sometimes their information can look a little muddled because there's a lot of charts and a lot of graphs. And if you're just looking for like, go to settings and do this thing, my best advice, just follow a YouTube video, pull it up on your phone, and just do it along with them.
Right. We got Brandon with 72 months of Prime Gaming. Any chance of an end of the year, beginning of the year screencast talking about your favorite TV shows and movies in 2023?
Maybe. No plan for that yet. It depends on what is coming out. But there's a lot of shit to cover, like entertainment-wise, during the break that we need to catch up on early next year. So I'm not so sure.
Let me talk about Blue-Eyed Samurai. I've only seen the first episode, but that shit's
Yeah,
hype as
very
fuck.
cool.
Yeah.
And the final one for now, we'll get back to him for when we get back to the lab for streaming, where me, Nick, and Mike will be hopping into that new Ark Survival, Ark Evolved, whatever the remaster of the Dino Survival game is.
Revitalized.
That's the one. From Devontae Chisholm, $5 super chat says, "'Tis the season of thanks. What are you guys thankful for this
Ascended.
year?" I'm thankful for having a roof over my head and my weighted blanket and my OLED.
I should get a weighted blanket.
Oh, you should.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's actually
yeah.
really good. That's gonna be my gift to myself.
Yeah,
on
it's not
Amazon
great
right
during
now.
the summer times when it's warmer. Not great during like October, which is our
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah.
But it's awesome.
The rest of the year kicks ass.
I'm thankful for Gia. And
Tim,
only
thankful for
Gia.
Gia.
Not thankful for anything else.
Wow.
Wow. I'm just
Barrett, how
thankful.
about you, Beard?
Well, Blessed, did you have something?
No.
He's looking up. Wait,
I am looking up weighted blanket.
I got in trouble
Bless
this
is
week.
thankful for the idea of a weighted blanket.
Yeah.
What
I got,
I'm
hold on real quick. I got
Yeah.
in trouble this week because there was multiple like Thanksgiving situations where I was asked what I was thankful for, and I named a whole bunch of things, and I didn't mention Gia at all. So I'm gonna clip this out and send it to him.
Even though my long weekend was busy as shit, way too many plans. Also had 2 different Friendsgivings. I was thankful to see everybody because it's easy to not make time for the people you care about, and so it was nice to actually make that time and see people the last few days.
Man, these are expensive.
Bless, $27.
But that's on the cheaper side. Like the first thing that pops up, even for Cyber Monday. Oh, today is Cyber Monday, so I should get one today.
Yeah.
Like what? Original price $76.
Bless, you put
discounted to
you put that
54,
shit
but-
on the Amazon credit card, man. You won't even think about it. You're paying like $12 a month for that,
I'm
dude.
not gonna get his Amazon credit card. Like I'm barely buying things off Amazon anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that you got money back for that shit, Tim. I have like $700 something. I had no.
Awesome.
Anytime they would like always show me, here's what you have, and I'd be like, yeah, but that's
But,
if I
like,
signed
in
up for all the other
theory.
bullshit things or whatever. And I was like, oh, I do have this money. That's kind of cool.
I had that moment recently with my credit card of like points. I just went in the back end to see like what the points are. And points just sound like make believe things. And like I did the conversion rate. I'm like, holy shit! I have so many points because you know me. For years, I've been scheming. I do all the things to maximize it all.
Yeah.
But then I don't actually use it. I do the scheme, but I don't actually like look at the results of it. And
You get all the
it's-
consumables in the game
It's
and
pretty
you hoard
insane,
them.
man. It's
Yeah.
pretty damn insane.
We'll get back to super chats and resubscriptions. Thank you, everybody, for your support here. And remember, Wednesday on the Twitch side of things, I'm going to be doing an all-day watch party for one of the goals that we hit last year during October for our Patreon pledge. I will be watching all of Midnight Mass because you all voted for Midnight Mass over the one that just came out about Usher, Raymond. And so I will be doing that full watch party on the Twitch side. So we won't be live on Games Daily or on any of the other like stream stuff. There will be no game stream. It'll be just be me on Twitch, and all the Games Daily and stuff will be happening on the YouTube side of things. Yeah. So we'll see you then. Remind anybody if you see people in the chat asking, let them know it's Wednesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time.
Let's go.
We'll see you in the lab, everybody. Goodbye.